05DS, Danielle DeLong versus Ryan Cromwell, Attorney Ashley Smith for plaintiff and Attorney Lisa McNiff for defendant.
Okay. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
This matter is before the court on the defendant's motion to hold plaintiff in contempt. Ms. McNiff, first I'll ask, how are you doing? You're back in the office?
I am significantly better. Thank you, Judge.
Good. And are you ready to proceed?
We are.
Okay. Ms. Smith, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McNiff, do you wish to make an opening statement or proceed to your proofs?
I'll proceed to proofs.
Okay. Ms. Smith, before that, do you wish to make an opening statement at this time or reserve your opening statement or waive your opening statement?
I'd like to waive it.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. McNiff, you can call your first witness then.
I'll call Mr. Cromwell.
Go ahead, Ms. McNiff, when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cromwell, you have filed a motion to hold Ms. DeLong in contempt. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And what were the circumstances that prompted you to file that motion?
She refused to drop our son off at the time that she was supposed to.
And your son is Grayson?
Yes.
And how old is Grayson?
12.
And when did Ms. DeLong first pick up Grayson for her summer parenting time?
The weekend of the 4th, I believe July 1st.
Okay. And when was she scheduled to return him?
That was her. She had 2 weeks, so the 16th of July.
So she had 2 consecutive weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have any communication with her on July 16th?
Yes.
And what was the communication on July 16th?
I told her she could drop him off at home or she could drop him off to my mom, which we've done numerous times. And she said that she didn't have to drop him off if I wasn't there. So she was refusing to bring them to either place because I wasn't there.
And where's your home? What's the address?
620.
And do you still live there?
As of right now, we're in the process of actually moving, yes.
Okay. And what's your mom's address?
137.
And is Ms. DeLong familiar with both of those addresses?
Yes.
And where were you on July 16th?
I was in Little Rock, Arkansas.
And has Ms. DeLong dropped off Grayson to either your mom or to your home, to another adult in your home?
Yes.
And who at your home is an adult that she would drop Grayson off to?
My fiance, Mackenzie Dinsmore.
And do you know whether or not Ms. DeLong brought Grayson to either your home or your mother's home on July 16th?
She did not.
And you weren't there. So how would you know that?
Well, Mackenzie was home and nobody ever came to the door. Plus we have cameras and she never pulled into the driveway.
Did you have tell me more about the cameras. Do you see it on your phone?
I'm sorry.
Do you see you sound like me, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do you see can you see the video on your telephone, or how do you review the cameras at your house?
I use my phone.
And on July 16th, were you watching your phone to see what was going on at your house?
Yes.
Did you at any time see any video of Ms. DeLong bringing Grayson home?
No, she never pulled in the driveway. Never seen her pull into the driveway.
Is that video stored for a period of time?
My ring, yeah. So my Xfinity cameras store, but I don't know if they go back that far now, but my ring does, and I do have the video of the ring of because Danielle told me that she's seen Mackenzie's son walking in the door.
Oh, Danielle, that's fine. I don't want you to tell me anything that Mackenzie said because that's going to be hearsay.
No, yeah. Danielle said that she's seen Mackenzie's son walking in the door, and I got the video of her son walking in the door, but she was never in the car. She was never in the driveway.
So I'm sorry, you saw Danielle's son?
Danielle said she seen Mackenzie's son walking in the door, so she knew he was home. But Danielle was never in the driveway, so my video does show Owen walking in the door, but not Danielle in the driveway.
And do you know whether or not she made any attempts to take Grayson to your mom's house?
No, she did not.
And has she told you that she didn't try to take him to your mother's house?
I believe so.
So after Grayson was not returned on July 16th, what did you do?
Well, I was on my way back home, so I came back. I went by her house a couple times. I called the police. Actually, I called the police first, from Little Rock. Then I came home. Then I called him again, and then went by her house a couple times. And then I contacted a friend of the court, and finally they told me I needed to contact an attorney. So that's when I did that.
How long did it take you to return from Little Rock to Michigan?
I believe I was back that Monday.
So from the 6th, do you remember what day the 16th was of July?
That was on Sunday, so it had to be that. Yeah, Sunday was 16th.
Okay, and you returned the 18th?
I was back Monday, so Monday night.
And do you have any idea how many times you went to Ms. DeLong's house to try to find Grayson?
I mean, I know I went at least 4.
Did you try to call her or try to call Grayson?
Yes, I messaged her and tried to call her. She didn't respond until a couple days later.
Did you have any text conversations with her on the 16th?
Yes.
And what was your understanding from her on the 16th as a result of those text messages?
That if I wasn't there, she wasn't dropping him off. She didn't have to.
When did you finally get Grayson back?
Oh, after the day of the first court date. I can't remember that date. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And did you have any communication with Grayson? Did she allow you to talk to Grayson at some point?
After first, well, she communicated me when she knew I sent the cops over there to check on him. She told me that he was okay. And then after we filed for the motion of contempt, then she started letting me talk to him.
And does July 31st sound correct to you for that motion hearing?
Yeah, it sounds pretty close.
And so do you recall if you received him back after that that same day, or was it days?
It was that same day.
I have no further questions for Mr. Cromwell.
Sorry about that. I was coughing, so I thought I better stop.
I know the feeling.
Yes, Ms. Smith, you can proceed with cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cromwell, you testified that Ms. DeLong saw Mackenzie's son walking to the door.
Yes.
Yet you also testified that Ms. DeLong never came to your house to drop Grayson off.
She never pulled into my driveway. She never tried to drop him off. She could have drove by and seen him, but she never pulled into the driveway.
But since you saw Mackenzie's son being dropped off, wouldn't it be reasonable to think that she made an attempt to drop Grayson off?
Normally, when she drops Grayson off, she lets Grayson out of the car and he walks up to the door. Grayson never came into the door, never got dropped off out of the car. She doesn't walk into the door or any of that. He just gets out and comes inside. He just gets out and comes inside. So he never made an attempt to come into the house, never knocked on the door, never seen if anybody was home. He never did that.
After the 2019 custody order, has Ms. DeLong ever withheld Grayson from you?
No.
And have you always been home for the drop-offs with Grayson?
No.
Have you ever been out of the state prior to this drop-off time when she would drop Grayson off?
No.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. McNiff, anything else?
Is Ms. Densmore in the waiting room?
Yes, she is.
I would call Mackenzie Densmore.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead when you're ready, Ms.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Densmore, do you know Mr. Cromwell?
Yes, I do very well.
And how do you know him?
We have been dating and engaged in the past and then now for about 2 years.
And do you reside together?
Yes.
And where do you reside together?
620 West Territorial.
And were you home on July 16th of this year?
Yes, I was.
Were you home for the entire day?
Yes, I was.
And at any time during the day on July 16th of this year, did you see Mr. Cromwell and Ms. DeLong's son, Grayson?
On the 16th, I did not.
And did Ms. DeLong or Grayson come to the door, ring the bell?
They did not. No. There was no knocking on the door either. And I have dogs, and I was aware that he was supposed to be dropped off that day. So I was, kind of expecting them, and I never did see them.
And do you have security cameras?
Yes, I do.
And did you have an opportunity to review any footage from your security cameras for July 16th?
I did, yes.
And at any point, did you see Ms. DeLong, her car drive, or any car drive into your driveway with Grayson?
I did not.
I have no further questions.
Okay, Ms. Smith, any cross-examination?
Yes, I do. Ms. Dunsmore, when Grayson is normally dropped off, does Ms. DeLong or Grayson always knock on the door?
She
Maybe.
might have frozen.
Yeah, she does appear to be frozen. So let's.
I apologize. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, that does happen. So, Ms. Smith, you can re-ask your question, please.
Okay. Ms. Dunsmore, when Grayson is normally dropped off, does he always knock on the door with Ms. DeLong, or how does that drop off go?
The drop-off will go is Miss DeLong stays in her car and Grayson just gets out and comes to the door and lets himself in, or knocks if it's locked, and then just comes right in.
And does Ms. DeLong always pull into the driveway when she grabs Grayson off?
Yes.
Every single time?
Maybe if there was not a room in the driveway, she would pull up right in front of the house, but my camera footage also can see that part of the house as well. And her car was not in sight.
Do you have that camera footage?
I do, yes.
Your Honor, are we able to review the camera footage?
I don't know if it depends on Ms. McNiff. Do you have that where we could download that?
Mr. Cromwell did send it to me, but I was having difficulties opening it myself. I don't have the software that allows it to open.
Okay.
I don't know if Mr. I'm not real sure of how we could do that.
Well.
No further questions then, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. McNiff?
I have nothing further. We rest.
Okay. Ms. Dunsmore, that concludes your testimony. Thank you. You're free to go. Have a good day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. And Ms. McNiff, as we're doing that, you rest, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Smith, would you like to present any witnesses?
Yes, I would like to call Ms. Danielle DeLong.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Smith, when you're ready.
Ms. DeLong, do you recall what happened on the day of July 16th, 2023?
Yes.
And what time do you normally drop Grayson off?
It looks like Ms. DeLong is frozen now. I guess we have to take turns being frozen.
There must be something going on with internet service in Battle Creek.
Ms. Smith?
I'm sorry.
Looks like Ms. Smith is now frozen. Oh, there you are.
Yep.
Guess
Okay, Mr. Long.
everybody takes their turn today, I guess.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. Long, what time do you normally drop Grayson off on drop-off days?
6 p.m.
And what happened when you went to drop Grayson off on July 16th?
Owen's stepmother was getting dropped off. There was a car all the way at the end of the driveway. So we went by the house and then back around and parked in front of kind of kitty corner from the house and waited for Ryan.
And did you ever see Mr. Cromwell
No,
at the house?
no, he was not there. His vehicle wasn't there.
Did you see his car there?
No.
And what was your concern with dropping Grayson off with Mr. Cromwell not being home?
That he was actually out of state, and I didn't know who could medically care for Grayson if Ryan was not around, if anything were to happen to Grayson.
Was it your intention to try and purposely withhold Grayson from Mr. Cromwell?
Absolutely not.
What steps did you take after you concluded that Mr. Cromwell was not home to ensure that you wouldn't be violating the custody order?
Even before 6 o'clock, earlier that afternoon, I called and spoke with Officer Gorman. Well, I actually made a call and then Officer Gorman called me back. And I explained the situation that Ryan of having custody, but he was not presently in the state. And Officer Gorman said that it did not.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained. You can't, ma'am, you can't state what somebody else has said.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I spoke with a police officer and was advised differently.
And what other steps did you take? Did you contact the front of the court?
I spoke with the lady down at the front of the court and explained the situation, and she documented it. She had me put it all in writing and had me document it, and she made a copy, and I believe it's on file. She kept the documentation.
Okay. And did you have any communication with Mr. Cromwell on July 16th?
I did. It was to drop Grayson off at the territorial address, and then last minute he changed it to his grandmother's address out off of on Lakeway Drive.
Did you have any communication with Mr. Cromwell after July 16th and up until the time you took Grayson back home on July 31st?
I did, yes. On the week after that happening, I was having issues with Facebook, and I believe that's the way that Mr. Cromwell reached out to me. He never texted my personal number. He never called my actual cell phone number. All of his communication was just via Messenger and Facebook. And I was having issues at that time. I don't know if other people were, but when a couple days after the 18th, I believe it was the Monday after, that's when the police came to my house. Again, I stayed in contact with him as much as I possibly could.
And did Mr. Cromwell ever request to speak with Grayson during that time?
Yes, there was multiple times he asked if he could talk to Grayson, and as soon as I was available, as soon as I could, he called. Grayson would call his father.
So Mr. Cromwell and Grayson had communication during that time?
Multiple times, yes, ma'am.
And once again, was it your intention to purposely withhold Grayson from Mr. Cromwell?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. McNiff?
Mr. Long, you didn't allow Grayson to go back home because you didn't know who could medically care for him?
With his father being out of state, correct.
Does Grayson have any medical conditions?
No, he's a young kid.
What was he ill at the time on July 16th?
No.
You're available to take care of him, correct?
Yes.
And you reside in Battle Creek?
Yes.
And Ms. Densmore has access to your phone number?
Yes.
So why couldn't you drop Grayson off to Ms. Densmore and indicate that if he had any medical issues for her to please call you?
Mrs. Denmore is just a girlfriend. She is nothing to Grayson.
Okay.
And Ms. Denmore is not on my court papers. It's me and Ryan and Grayson on our court papers. No one else is involved in our custody.
So is it fair to say you did not attempt to take Grayson to his paternal grandmother's house either?
I took him to the address on the court papers, and I didn't see why I had to do all of the runaround. If his father was here, he could have came and got him like I stated, but Ryan didn't come back for 3 days from the incident.
And you didn't make any attempts to try to talk to Ms. Densmore about the situation?
Ms. Densmore and I, we don't speak.
And there were some text messages that your attorney attached to her exhibit list. Do you recall those text messages?
I believe so.
And in those text messages, it appears that you and Mr. Cromwell were texting on July 16th and then also texting, I think, through July 20th. Do you recall that?
Give or take, there was some time that my messenger was not working though, so I'm not sure on the exact dates, but there was always some type of communication.
So those were messenger messages, not phone text messages?
Yes, I believe so.
And it appears in the text messages that Ms. Smith attached that on July 20th, Mr. Cromwell asked for a phone call with Grayson and it occurred. It looks like there's a call right after that text message. Would you agree that that was likely a call between Mr. Cromwell and Grayson?
Yes.
So you let 4 days go past without there being any communication between Mr. Cromwell and Grayson?
My Facebook wasn't working. Ryan and I don't have each other's numbers. We don't talk any other way but Facebook, ma'am. Grayson's entire life, we've never texted or called actual phones.
So if Facebook is down or if you're not paying attention to Facebook, then
Ryan, I don't know Ryan's phone number. Ryan does not keep his phone number updated. I would have to reach out to other people to get his number.
Do you think it would be helpful for the two of you to have an app on your phones with which you could communicate to each other so you didn't have to rely on Facebook?
Possibly, yes, ma'am.
And do you think it would be appropriate that Grayson have both of your phone numbers and be permitted to call each of you when he's with the other one?
I believe so. I've supplied Grayson with a phone that it gets broke every time. So we're struggling now with Grayson being responsible to keep a phone of his own right now, Lisa.
I have no further questions.
Okay. Anything else, Ms. Smith?
Yes, is Miss Rachel Love in the waiting room?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to call Miss Rachel Love.
Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Miss Love, what is your relation to Miss Danielle DeLong?
We are friends. We've been friends for, 5, 6 years.
And do you know her son, Grayson?
I do.
Do you know Mr. Ryan Cromwell?
Not very well, no, just in passing by, dropping Grayson off.
And were you with Miss DeLong on the evening of July 16th?
I was.
And did the two of you go to drop Grayson off together?
Yes.
And
me, Danielle, Cameron, and Grayson.
And do you recall what happened when Miss DeLong arrived at Mr. Cromwell's residence?
We parked in front of the neighbor's house because there was a vehicle in the driveway. We had sat there about 15, 20 minutes. We seen Mackenzie's son getting dropped off by an SUV around 6:20-ish. And then shortly after that, we left because Ryan never showed up.
And Miss Love, in your opinion, would you say that Miss DeLong made a reasonable effort to drop Grayson off that day?
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Love. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. McNiff, any cross-examination?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Love. That concludes your testimony. You're excused. Have a good day.
Thank you. You as well.
Ms. Smith?
We rest, Your Honor.
Okay. Any rebuttal, Ms. McNiff?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. That concludes the proofs then in this matter. Ms. McNiff, your closing argument.
Your Honor, I think it's pretty clear that Ms. DeLong has admitted that she did not drop Grayson off when she was supposed to drop him off on July 16th. She went to the house, she sat outside the house, she watched Ms. DeMoore's son get dropped off. It seems that she appears to know that there was an adult that was home in the house. The parties were communicating. She simply refused to drop Grayson off because Mr. Cromwell wasn't there. There's absolutely no requirement that Mr. Cromwell must be at the drop-off location. The drop-off time is set. She was to have this child for 2 consecutive weeks from July 1st to July 16th. And she's freely admitted that she did not drop him off when she was supposed to drop him off. There was an adult at home. That adult was perfectly capable of caring for Grayson. The concern about any medical emergency is simply weak and a red herring. There's no reason why Ms. Densmore couldn't call Ms. DeLong or contact Mr. Cromwell if for some reason that child became ill before Mr. Cromwell was able to return home from Arkansas. We think this is very clear that there was absolutely a withholding of this child until this court ordered the child back to Mr. Cromwell's care, which occurred July 31st. So we would ask that the court hold Ms. DeLong in contempt for withholding Grayson for Mr. Cromwell's parenting time.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Smith, closing.
Yes, Your Honor. When Ms. DeLong made her reasonable effort to drop Grayson off at the drop-off time, Mr. Cromwell was not home. Ms. DeLong had a legitimate reason for not leaving Grayson. Mr. Cromwell and Ms. Densmore are not married. She is not a spouse, that she is not able to provide certain things for Grayson. Also, there has been issues in the past with Ms. DeLong being able to get information for Grayson if he needed medical care. So Ms. DeLong had a legitimate reason for keeping Grayson. She did not purposely withhold Grayson to interrupt or interfere with Mr. Cromwell's parenting time. She did contact the police. She contacted the front of the court. She took advice from both of those agencies on what she should do to make sure that she was not in contempt or violating the parenting time order. Ms. DeLong does not have a history prior or after the 2019 custody order of withholding Grayson. She has never done anything purposely to try to frustrate any parenting time between Mr. Cromwell and Grayson. She had a legitimate reason for withholding Grayson during this time because Mr. Cromwell was not home. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. McNiff, anything else?
I would just point out to the court that even if, given all of that was true, when Mr. Cromwell returned back to Michigan, the child should have been returned to him. So even if it was true that she was concerned about his medical care, there's absolutely no reason why that child should not have been returned to Mr. Cromwell when he returned from Arkansas.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Well, in this matter, again, the court will note, looking at the file in this matter, the current order that it's in place does provide for the defendant to have sole legal and physical custody, subject to the plaintiff's standard parenting time, which provides for 2 consecutive weeks during the summer, that the plaintiff commenced her 2 weeks in the summer on July 1st, 2023. So the time for the child to be returned would have been July 16, 2023, that she did appear at the defendant's residence to return the child. But even as she acknowledges, she said she parked, because there was a car in the driveway, she parked in front of the neighbor's house, not the defendant's home, that she saw Miss Densmore's son come to the home, go into the house, that she stayed for 15 minutes And at that time, she stated she left because the defendant was not present. Court would note that Mr. Cromwell had spoke apparently, or however they did that through Facebook or whatever, and informed her that she could drop off Grayson at the territorial address, or she could drop him off to her or to his mother's. And apparently there was some testimony about it with his grandmother's, but she, as she stated, she didn't have an obligation to run all over to drop Grayson off, but just simply would drop off at the territorial address. Court notes that Ms. Densmore had testified that again, she had been with the defendant for approximately 2 years, that on July 16, 2023, she was at home the entire day. She did not see Grayson at any point, didn't see him, hear him knock or ring the doorbell. That in fact, it was a standard procedure that Grayson would simply come to the house, come up to the door, that he would in fact either come into the house, or if by chance the door was locked, he would ring the doorbell, they would let him in. That's the standard operating procedure. That in this matter, the plaintiff had testified, as I stated, that she went to the house, sat at the neighbor's because another vehicle was in the driveway, so she didn't pull into the driveway. She testified that she was concerned leaving Grayson if the defendant was not present, in case there was some, I guess, the medical condition that would put Grayson at risk. However, on cross-examination, she stated that Grayson was not ill at the time, that Grayson did not have any medical condition, which would be recurring, or the possibility that that would happen. And that, again, based upon what this court observed from the testimony, is that the court just believes that the plaintiff is disingenuous as to why she would not drop Grayson off under some feigned possibility that he might become ill or something. She obviously could communicate with the defendant about that provisions could be made. If I don't look at this any different than if a parent is working and a child becomes ill in the middle of their work shift. What are you going to do? You've got to do something. You have to seek medical attention. And quite frankly, the court just sees this as a red herring argument that holds no substance whatsoever. The court notes that's the obligation of the plaintiff to return the child. She did not do so. She does not have a reasonable basis for not doing so. Grayson had previously been dropped off time and time again. When he would walk up to the door, he would come into the door. She, over those times, didn't know if Mr. Cromwell was there. Maybe before she would see if his car was there, but just because his car is in the driveway doesn't mean he was there. He might have been any number of places with other individuals where he didn't drive. So the court does not give any credence to, again, her feigned excuses for not dropping Grayson off. The court would note as well that Mr. Cromwell appeared the next day. He came back from Arkansas on July 17, 2023, that, again, she did not make any attempts to return Grayson after that. And it was only after the matter was filed and brought before the court that, again, she returned Grayson. So the court does not believe that there's any justifiable reason for not returning him. The court is going to hold the plaintiff in contempt of court. And what happens, I do note that it was the period of time from the 16th through the 31st. So there were 15 days where Grayson was withheld. The court will give an award to the defendant 15 days of makeup parenting time. to be chosen at a time that he wishes to be exercised in the next 6 months. They have to be a comparable time, so he can take weekends or things of that nature, but he wouldn't take any particular holidays and interfere with that, but he can take and keep him for those additional 15 days between now and the end of the 6 months. The court also, in this matter, would award to Mr. Cromwell his cost and attorney fees of having to bring this proceeding. And Ms. McNiff, you can tax those and present them in that manner, and we'll address, again, those issues if we need to at that point. So
Thank you.
that will be the order of the court. Ms. McNiff, is there anything else you believe the court needs to address or has failed to address before we conclude?
No, Your Honor, I would love to see an order for the parties to use our family wizard, but it's not before.
Okay. Thank you. And I meant to do that. I had it in my notes and I just skipped over that. Ms. DeLong did state that it would probably be good if the parties had some form of communication because of issues of phone numbers. The court will order that the parties would communicate through our family wizard app, and that they would begin doing that within, let's say, the next 24 hours. It's easy to download that app to proceed. That way they can communicate. I would tell both parties so that they know when they communicate through our family wizard, there are records kept of that. So the court does have access to whatever that communication is. So I'm just saying, govern yourself accordingly, because if a party goes off or is vulgar, offensive, or anything of that nature, the court will have access to those records. So you can include that in the order as well. Ms. McNiff, submit those all under the 7-day notice of entry. Ms. Smith, is there anything you believe the court needs to address or has not addressed before we conclude?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you all. The court will conclude.